Know your human rights, ladies and gentlemen. And in the second part of our European Convention of Human Rights videos, we discussed previously what the convention was, and also about, well, what about your rights are going to be? Because I think it's, again, if there's a conversation about ever being removed from this, then you've got to find out exactly, ladies and gentlemen, what you could stand to lose, and you will have nothing to gain from this. Which I could summarize the entire video by just saying that about what will happen if we leave, is that we will lose everything and we'll gain absolutely nothing. But here we go. Let's start with what your human rights are. The Human Rights Act is for everyone. Without the Human Rights Act and Article 2, a new inquest into the Hillsborough disaster may have never happened, and the families and survivors of Hillsborough would never have got the justice they deserve. So, yeah, exactly. I don't know if there's anybody from Liverpool currently watching my videos right now, but bear that in mind. Maybe you had friends, relatives, or you heard stories from loved ones or those who were tragically impacted by the Hillsborough disaster. You probably want answers, and guess what? If it wasn't for things like this, you might have never have got them. And victory for all those who had to stand and fight for what they rightfully deserved. Human rights are the basic rights and freedoms all people should be guaranteed. They are universal, apply equally to everyone, and are founded on the principle of dignity for every human being. Human rights were first recognized internationally by the Universal Declaration on Human Rights in 1948, in the aftermath of the Second World War. This was quickly followed by the adoption, 2 years later, of the European Convention on Human Rights. The Human Rights Act makes the rights and freedoms earned in the European Convention on Human Rights directly enforceable in the UK. It means that you can defend your rights in UK courts, and it compels public organisations like the government, police and local councils to treat everyone equally with fairness, dignity and respect. Now, that's not immediately to say that all of these bodies would stop, or if they ever truly began, but it means that basically treating people with dignity, equality and respect might simply only become merely a courtesy. It won't become a requirement. And you can only imagine the sort of can of worms. Like, if somebody, for example, who in the council was being very disrespectful to you, was making fun of you for being gay, for example, you couldn't take this person to court for their homophobia. Or if somebody in the police was being racist to you, you couldn't take the police to court, or you couldn't take that officer to court, because there's with no human rights or no rights defended by any body whatsoever, it means that they will always be able to get away with it. Are you beginning to see what this is starting to look like? Because I understand it, and it doesn't really make sense why anybody would even suggest the idea of leaving. But well, I've answered that before. Find out more about your rights and how the Human Rights Act protects against them. So here we are. We'll go through this portion first, and actually, to be honest, we could probably go through. We'll go through this first. First of all, what is the Human Rights Act? The Human Rights Act is a UK law passed in 1998. It lets you defend your rights in court and against public organisations, including the government, police and local councils, to treat everyone equally with fairness, dignity and respect. Who can use the Human Rights Act? The Human Rights Act may be used by every person resident in the United Kingdom, regardless of whether or not they are a British citizen or a foreign national, a child or an adult, a prisoner or a member of the public. It can be used by companies or organisations like Liberty. What does the Human Rights Act actually do? The human rights contained within this law are based on the articles of the European Convention on Human Rights. The Act gives further effect to rights and freedoms guaranteed under the European Convention. It means judges must read and give effect to other laws in a way which is compatible with the Convention rights. It is unlawful for a public authority to act in a way which is incompatible with a conventional right. What does the Human Rights Act protect? The right to life. Protects your life by law. The state is required to investigate suspicious deaths and deaths in custody. The prohibition of torture and inhumane treatment. You should never be tortured or treated in a inhumane or degrading way, no matter what the situation. Protection against slavery and forced labour. You should not be treated like a slave or subjected to forced labour. The right to liberty and freedom. You have the right to be free, and the state can only imprison you with very good reason, for example, if you are convicted of a crime. The right to a fair trial and no punishment without law. You are innocent until proven guilty. If accused of a crime, you have the right to hear the evidence against you in a court of law. Respect your privacy and family life and the right to marry. Protects against unnecessary surveillance or intrusion into your life. You have the right to marry and enjoy family relationships. Freedom of thought, religion, and belief. You can believe what you like and practice your religion or beliefs. Free speech and peaceful protest. You have a right to speak freely and join the others peacefully to express your views. No discrimination. Everyone's rights are equal. You should not be treated unfairly because, for example, of your gender, race, disability, sexuality, religion, or age. Protection of property. Protects against state interference with your possessions. The right to an education means that no child can be denied an education. The right to free elections. Elections must be free and fair. What does that mean for me? If you can show that a public authority has interfered with any of the rights recognized by the Convention, you can take action by writing to the public authority concerned to remind them of their legal obligation under the Human Rights Act and ask them to rectify the situation, going to court, which may find that a particular action or inaction of a public authority is or would be unlawful. It can tell the public authority to stop interfering with your right to take action to protect your right. If the court is satisfied that a law is incompatible with a convention right, it may make a declaration of that incompatibility. This is a formal legal statement that the particular law interferes with human rights. It does not have the immediate effect, but strongly encourages Parliament to amend or repeal the law in question. Our Human Rights Act questions and answers from the British Institute of Human Rights. And there's a lot, well, as you could say, how your human rights are under threat. There is a democratic crisis in the United Kingdom. The government is shutting down the ways ordinary people hold them accountable for their actions. In Parliament, through the courts, on the streets, and in society. It's time for us all to stand up to power and send a message to the government and not become untouchable. So that's we sort of covered more about about all these things, but if we go just a little bit more further, is that, well, we could view all of these in more detail in like other videos as well, because one thing I kind of always wanted to express, ladies and gentlemen, and something that I really want to emphasize again, is that, is it possible, you may be saying or asking yourselves, is it absolutely possible to say that we could, for example, take the government to court on account of the fact that they are deciding to hold a referendum about the Convention of our Human Rights? You might be asking the question, forget about whether or not the idea, who thought this was a good idea in the first place, but consider the question of, is it not a violation that this is even being put to the test anyway? Why on earth do we need to vote about whether or not our freedoms are worth a damn anymore to this government? When you see it like that, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's obvious to say that even if this government is not breaking any laws, because bear in mind, there's been no news whatsoever they're actually going to go through with this. If they do, they might be nearly as insane as Putin at this point. But like I mentioned before, ladies and gentlemen, is that you have to seriously consider as to whether or not something very, very wrong is going on, because I'm not convinced at this point, nor will anybody who tries to tell me that this is in the best interest for the country, that actually conscientiously deciding that we need to be asked this about our rights. These are our fundamental rights, not just for you, me, for everybody involved. Why is this something that is we're even having a conversation about this? Well, because they are important, ladies and gentlemen. That's why. For everybody involved. And I will not bow my head to any snotty-nosed reform party member or supporter and their narrow-minded rules. I shall look them straight in the face, saying that if they go through with this, if they do want to publish a referendum in which we have to vote for our rights, I will happily take the government to court. Try me, ladies and gentlemen, because I don't really think this is... Again, I don't think they can get away with that. Which is why we shouldn't make them get away with it. We need to basically screw these guys hard with all the evidence that is available, and to the knowledge that, well, it is against our rights that they think that our rights are just conditional. That, they can just decide whether we have freedoms to live our lives how we choose or not. And with all that being said and done, I will catch all of you guys again later. So, take care, and bye-bye for now.